I got a lot to think about, to be honest. And just for me personally, going forward with the game of basketball, got a lot to think about.
Okay, so with the Lakers being swept in the Western Conference Finals this NBA playoffs, the question has been brought up. LeBron said it himself. He's considering retiring. Now, we don't know how true this really is and the stakes of what he said, how true it is, I guess. But, I mean, it is concerning. It's kind of sad to see one of the GOATs, or arguably the GOAT. I'm not going to debate who it is because, you know, that's going to start a whole nother conversation. But, yeah, is it an actual viable thing? LeBron retires this season from the game forever? Or how do we feel about this? Because I'm interested to hear what you have to say. I know my take, but it might be a bit different to yours. But keen to hear what you have to say.
I'm a little bit hit and miss regarding this. I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to take attention away from the loss. So by him pointing out that he may be retiring, it's like they're trying to deflect from the fact that they just got swept. But then again, it's a realistic thing, because when I was watching him this whole series, he kind of just didn't look like the same LeBron that we saw even during the year. You know what I mean? He kind of felt like the age started to really catch up to him, and I kind of felt like he really looked like a true 38, 39-year-old out there, not the LeBron that's been, you know, stood the test of time for so many years now, and obviously into his 19th year, and it didn't look like he was a day over his, first season or second season in the league, the way he was moving on the court. But obviously, there is a strong possibility, because, you know, his son is going to USC, and maybe he wants to spend some time with him, refresh his body, and spend some more time with Bryce, obviously, now that he's transferring to Campbell Hall, alongside Rip Hamilton's son. And obviously they're looking at investing a ton of money into that, making a multi-million-dollar basketball facility at that school. And that school is actually quite renowned as well. Obviously, in the past, they've had all the Holiday brothers go there. Drew Holiday was a star at Campbell Hall. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, correct, where he's just transferred from Sierra Canyon. So it's one of those things, he may be wanting to look at his business ventures, try and, spend more time with his family, his sons, and refresh, and then give it one more shot right before, obviously, Bronny comes into the league, and then it can sort of allow him to then choose where he wants to then play his last season, arguably, because he did mention he only wants to play with his son for at least 1 year, and then he'll consider retiring for good. So maybe it's good for him, because he'll be able to refresh and sort of really be able to perform rather than be a shell of himself when he is playing out there with his son. But then again, how much can we take from a rumor? And I don't think at the same time that he'd want to just call it quits after a defeat. You know what I mean? You saw with Jordan when he left the game. Obviously, that was a bit more from a conspiracy theorist perspective. They reckon it was a secret suspension by David Stern. Yeah, the first time when David Stern secretly may have suspended him due to his the bad image that he was bringing upon the league through his gambling behaviors, and obviously the connections he had to certain figures. And obviously that was becoming detrimental to the image that David Stern wanted to have or have the league portrayed as. So again, it was different circumstances, and obviously Jordan came off a championship run the previous 3 years before he obviously retired. So you can look at it from that perspective and say it's different situations. So I honestly, if LeBron's the competitor that he really is, and he is truly wanting to be put into that GOAT conversation, I don't think you bow out on a conference final sweep. You know what I mean? I feel like you'd almost much rather just be eliminated completely from playoff contention, before the playoffs start, and not make the play-in, whatever, than get to this point into the season. Obviously, in playing devil's advocate to that opinion, you could say, they should never have been there in the first place. The fact that they got there exceeded the expectations, because they knocked off a number of key teams or high-quality teams in the Warriors, the Grizzlies, to get to that point. But obviously, in some cases, you almost think it's better off that we didn't even make it there, and then it's like, well, now I can retire because, I've got nothing left to give because obviously we never made the playoffs. We got no way of contending. But the fact that they got so close, and once the team got restructured after Rob Pelinka made those moves, and obviously the team looks totally different dynamic, totally different chemistry on the court. So again, you could say that they are pretty close to contending. You add a couple of pieces, or you restructure a few more things. Obviously, the question mark about D'Lo and what his future looks like with the Lakers after his shocking playoff run that he had. How much different, or how much more could another player add to that roster that they could take him over the hump to beat a team like Denver and to ultimately get to another NBA Finals and possibly take out a chip. So that's stuff that LeBron has to weigh up. And there's even rumors that he was apparently considering going to New York, which that's just, I think that's completely out of the question. But again, never say never, especially with LeBron James and the moves he's made over his career, jumping from from Cleveland and Miami back to Cleveland to the Lakers. I wouldn't rule it out at all, but watch this space. It's going to be an interesting few months, and it's obviously going to impact a lot of the off-season planning that the Lakers had if LeBron does decide to abruptly retire out of the blue. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. So
100%. No, I completely.
That's my take there.
I'm on the same page, I think, with your take. I think LeBron, if he does retire, he'll retire for the 1 year. Bronny will play his one season at USC, and no matter how successful he goes, I think he'll declare for the draft. LeBron will then team up with Bronny, play a season with Bronny, and then I think there's a possibility if he does retire, I think he comes back to the game. He does a bit of an MJ to the Wizards at 38. He has a bit of ownership stakes in that franchise, I think, because LeBron, obviously, it's a known thing. He wants to be a team owner once he's done playing the game, and I think that could be the perfect opportunity to do so. And with his own son on the team, it just makes sense to me, I think. Who knows, maybe presumably even like the Cleveland Cavaliers. That would be crazy if that was to happen. But I agree. I think LeBron, he's a bit on the decline. He's still a top 5 to 10 player in the league. But at the same time, he's not the LeBron that we kind of once knew. And I think wear and tear's getting to him. He hasn't been as healthy, specifically this season. And he's still putting up like 40. We saw that in that game 4. But it's just, I don't know if he can, be that same LeBron who was taking him to the finals almost every single year, ever again. But questions are, LeBron needs to ask to himself, I guess, and the LA Lakers is, can the Lakers compete running it back for NBA championship with the roster that they have? Does Kyrie Irving or Trae Young, if they are to get them in a trade, do they even push them to be championship contenders, like true championship contenders? And I guess with that being said, with those two players, there were talks that the Lakers wanted to, or had, they sold themselves on extending D'Angelo Russell. I don't know if they really want to do that now after the playoffs. And where to next for Aussie Reeves? Because apparently he's been offered like 50 mils. So yeah, they got to kind of figure that one out, because Aussie Reeves has been a hell of a player for them, and it would be a shame if he left. It would be very sad to see, but yeah, I think for this off season is huge for the Lakers. So
just to, I guess, go on from that, the whole thing with Kyrie and Trae Young, obviously Trae Young being a clutch sports guy, Rich Paul being the agent, and have Kyrie having that long-standing friendship with LeBron. Obviously, there was a bit of turmoil at some points there when obviously Kyrie wanted to leave and have his own team, and there was sort of a bit of that awkwardness. But obviously, they've remained brothers from that point, anyways. Regardless if they went through a bit of that rough patch, they're always homies. They're always brothers for life. That championship obviously bonded them. So, question could be posed is like, if they can land a guy like Kyrie Irving or a guy like Trae Young, who's obviously assigned to the same agency that LeBron James is a part of, does that convince LeBron to maybe stick around and run it back one more time? Because I think a lot of it's going to come down to what the Lakers do in the offseason, what kind of roster moves they do, what kind of roster reshuffle they actually can manufacture to be able to put out a competitive roster to try and go at another run at an NBA championship. So that's the only thing that I think maybe stops LeBron from retiring for good. But then going back to the point about you saying he was worn out and it just seemed like the toll of the NBA season and all the years on his body had got to him. And I agree, because even when he was like attacking the paint, he used to be able to just jam over guys and he wouldn't be afraid who was in the paint. But it felt like he wasn't like able to really get that lift like he was once upon a time. I'm not saying he still can't get up, but even him fumbling that reverse dunk that he was trying to do. And to be honest, this is as frustrated as I've seen LeBron on a personal level since I remember. Like, even just like, usually he's very close with all the guys on the court, even from the opposition. He'll dap everyone up. He'll, shake hands, have a bit of a chit chat, do the jersey thing where they like put the jersey over the mouth and go blah, 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 like they start talking and, wishing them the best. But every game in this series, after the game finished, he would just walk straight through the tunnel, wouldn't dap anyone up, did a full Isaiah Thomas against the Bulls back in the day. And, I've never seen that from LeBron. So that's obviously obvious signs of frustration, whether it's to the team, whether it's to himself, because he wasn't living up to the standards or expectations he set upon himself. But like I said, he looked visibly frustrated, looked visibly annoyed, and didn't look like he actually enjoyed himself for once in his career like that I've never seen before. So that could be signs again, like obviously with the thing, considering retirement, all of that and how this series played out, and obviously, not even taking a game off the Nuggets, and maybe just seeing how far behind the Nuggets they were, and, how far ahead the Nuggets are in terms of being the best team in the West. That could have just maybe flicked the switch in LeBron's head, and it's like, maybe my time's done until Bronny gets in the league. I need to refresh, do what I need to do, focus on other things off the court, get my enjoyment back, get my happiness back, and then I might, have a career rejuvenation to an extent. So as weird as that is to say, because he is 39 and approaching 40 years old, so I don't know how much of a rejuvenation you can have with just 1 year off. But again, we saw what it did for MJ. Again, the jury's still out whether that was a retirement that he chose on his own merits or whether it was forced upon him. But again, we'll get into that another time. But yeah, all in all, it's going to be depend on a lot of different factors whether he retires or not. So,
yeah,
like I said, watch this space.
It'll definitely be very interesting how the Lakers handle this off-season, and whether LeBron actually retires. It'll be a sad day if he does, but at the same time, I'm not buying any of it. I don't think that's the last game LeBron James has played as an NBA player. I think for sure he'd come back. But, definitely just a talking topic we kind of had to discuss because, it is very relevant. Everybody seems to care about the King, no matter if you're a LeBron hater, you love LeBron. He's been the perfect player for the past 20 years, perfect person for the past 20 years. And, with all being said, I think that kind of wraps up what we have to say about the topic. One more thing. I've just got one last thing to add. You mentioned how you can't have that being LeBron's last game, and I agree with you because we saw what he did with the scoring title, stopped the whole game to get that whole, center of attention. I'm the number one scorer in the league. I highly doubt that LeBron, knowing the kind of personality that he is, and the kind of person that he always likes to have stuff being surrounding him. He wants to be the main guy, self-centered sort of person, even though he's a very humble guy, don't get me wrong. At the same time, he's not. So I know that for a fact that if he would want a similar exit to Kobe, he would have announced, by the way, this is going to be my last game. And then he's just going to guys, I just want to wish you. Not buying any of it.
Yeah, 100%. No way. Nah. No. But I just had to add that in. Sorry for cutting you off.
Added that in because, it's honestly laughable, the fact that we're even kind of discussing this, because I think everybody knows. LeBron knows. Kyrie knows. The NBA world knows. Ham knows. Anthony Davis knows. This isn't the last time.
Pelinka knows.
You know at home. But you still clicked on this video. But anyway, glad you did. Make sure you subscribe if you did and you haven't already, though.
Yeah, we'd love to have you part of our community. We're growing something big here. It's not just a YouTube channel. It's a family. It's a community. We're going to be a big media outlet on all different platforms. Stay tuned for different kinds of content coming up. So with that, without further ado, without anything else being added onto this, this has been your boy Danko from the Bench Mob.
Been Marks from the Bench Mob. Thank you guys for coming on again. We appreciate you all. For now, we'll catch you guys later. We out.
See you soon, guys. Peace.